Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Phillip Scott, and let me just give you a little bit of introduction, which you may have seen in the brochures and handouts. He's of mixed ancestry, struck by lightning 3 times, and he's walked the native path for over 30 years, and learning from and sanctioned by the traditional holy people, tribal spiritual leaders, and wisdom keepers and elders from several indigenous cultures. And annually he does the sun dancing in Lakota tradition. He's done this for over 2 decades. He is a ceremonial leader entrusted to share indigenous wisdom and traditional healing practices with the contemporary world. And he's very well known, interviewed by nationally and internationally, radio, TV, newspapers, etc. And he's been featured in many books, and so we're very, very happy to have him here tonight. He does maintain a private practice, performing ceremonies and conducting intensive lectures and pilgrimages and healing practices. So let me, with that, turn it over to Phillip Scott. Thank you.
Is there a way we can take this down? Because there won't be any. There's going to be primitive technology today.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also, we want to move this out of the way. I've been hit 3 times by lightning, so I don't like electrical gadgets around me. And if you would, please turn off your cell phones. We're doing ceremony tonight. Turn them all the way off, not just on vibrate mode, no, all the way up. Please come over here. You don't need that. Can we have some of these lights turned off a little bit? So you may have a different departure from what you're accustomed to tonight, which is good. So if there's a way that also, I'm going to be setting up an altar here, so if you can kind of keep it on me and not my altar, I would appreciate it too. So good evening.
Hi.
Yeah, I don't like electrical microphones around me. I don't want any arcing that takes place tonight. So permit me to formally introduce myself. So my colonized name is Phillip Scott. But my ceremonial name is Shunkawa Kansapa, which is Lakota for black horse. I have Oklahoma Cherokee according to oral tradition on my father's side, but I've been adopted by the Lakota, Cheyenne, Maori, Dene, Hopi people. So got lots of tribal affiliations, but I've been sun dancing with the Lakota people for 25 years. And they conferred the role and responsibility of the ceremonial chief in that tradition. So tonight, anyone happen to know what day it is?
Earth Day.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. See, every day is Earth Day, right? And I lament the fact that we carve out one day to celebrate our beloved mother. Every day is Earth Day. Every day, Mother Earth kisses your feet. Every step you take, she is there. She sacrifices her children, her brethren, through the food that we consume so that we can continue our lives forward. Right? That for me requires reverence every single day. Now, just a show of hands, how many of you, before you ever eat any food, take a moment to thank the relations that have sacrificed their lives for you? Yeah. Should have 100% hands in this room, right? But what that means, right, is that we're often not aware of our relationship to this earth, which is why we have one day that we carve out just to celebrate her. So I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Okay? I'm going to ask you from today forward and for the rest of your life, before you bite into anything, that you take a moment to express gratitude. Because the paradox of existence is that our food consists of souls. These beings are alive. Right? We are not the zenith of creation, contrary to popular prevailing Western belief. We're actually the grandchildren here. We're called, in Lakota Takoja, grandchild. We respect our elders. Everyone here, many of you are my elders in here. I ask permission to be able to speak. Right? When we're in tribal council, right, the eldest does not speak, right, unless addressed and acknowledged to do so. So many of you are my elders, and so I request humbly your permission to be able to address all of you here tonight. This is the way that we do it, about relationship here. Yeah. So we're not the zenith of creation. Who are our first elders on this planet? I hear stars, close. Earth, air, fire, water. Those are your first elders. The elemental ones are living beings. Grandfather fire, grandmother water. Right? They were here first. Right? In some of our ceremonies, we go without water for 4 days. And you understand how precious and how powerful that medicine is. Water is your first medicine. Water is our first medicine. Food is our second medicine. Yeah. You know, we hear often in the Western medical paradigm, right? They say food as medicine. No, food is not a similar. Food is medicine. Yeah? Literally, right? The ground of a lot of our afflictions could be remedied with proper nutrition. Yeah. Because that's what we did in the past. All of our indigenous elders, all of our indigenous people, wherever you come from, all over this earth, they understood the relationship to the natural world. Earth, air, fire, water. We are alive because water is alive. Simple. Direct equation and correlation. Right? If you kill the water through poisoning it, it will poison us. Direct correlation. Because water is alive, it's sentient. You know, think about Mr. Emoto, right? What did he teach us through scientific inquiry? That water carries that vibration, right? Which is why we use it in our ceremonies. It's a medicine of doctrine. So your earth, air, fire, water, those are your first elders. Mother Earth, right? The wind is alive, right? You learn how to beckon the wind, make relationships with that to carry the prayers. Your next elders, your next teachers are the plant nations people. Right? They were here first, after the elementals created this earth. Right? And then came the animal nations. So we were last. We're last, we're not first. So we have the most to learn, and we look to our elders for their wisdom and counsel to be able to live in harmony and balance here on this beautiful, glorious planet that you have been brought to. Yeah. So we have humility. Right? No arrogance. We let go of the arrogance because we are in the pickle that we're in this time of great urgency in terms of our earth and our survival upon it because of the kind of hubris that we continue to foster. But if we're humble, right, and understand that we're a part of this intricate fabric web of creation and life, right, then we will step up and remember our responsibility collectively, which is what? The stewardship of this earth, the protection of our mother, the protection of all of our relations. Right? When we do this ceremony tonight, at the conclusion of my prayer, I will say, Mitakuye Oyasi, which is Lakota for all my relations. It's not just the five-fingered ones that we're all related to in here, but you are related to everything in creation, literally. In every cell of your body, to have that awareness and that understanding is vital for our very survival. That's what I want to impress upon you today. Every day is Earth Day. Every day is an awareness of your interrelationship and interconnection with all of creation. Yeah. And that's what I've been taught, right? To place the being back in human, because we have forgotten how to be human. Right? In our quest for great technology, which I do not disparage. Right? I'm not a Luddite here. I'm not going to be promoting that we go backward. Right? We need to go forward with an honoring of all technologies and how they can work for our betterment and not to be enslaved by them. Right? Because in our quest for that technology, we often forget how to be human. Right? I work with the youth and we see how so fixated they are on their phones that they've lost social skills of communication and interaction. And it's not just the children. I see that with the elders too, right? You're sitting next to someone and everyone has their face planted in their phones rather than human engagement, right? To listen to the story of the person next to you. Because you're busy looking at what's happening on your phone, right? Which is actually altering your brain chemistry. Yeah? So how do we work together? Because if we don't use these technologies for the betterment of ourselves and our loved ones and all of our relations, mitakuye oyasi, right? The standing ones, the swimmers, the two-leggeds, the four, the burrows, the flyers, the soarers, all of them are our relations. We are all one big family. And we need to understand that in the matrix of ourselves, down to our DNA, which is not just deoxyribonucleic acid, but its descendants and ancestors. Yeah. I cannot take credit for that. That came from John Trudell, a Lakota poet who actually recently passed away. That was his coinage of that DNA, descendants and ancestors. Right? So this is what we want to impress upon you tonight. And we, I mean myself and the spirits that I work with, right? So that we can actually have technology and enhanced prayer tonight. Thank you. Right? Thank you for your work. Right? I believe in collaboration. I espouse collaborative medicine. Right? So not only do I practice traditional indigenous medicine, I'm also an EMT. It's about bridging the worlds. Right? So do I require scientific, double-blind clinical trials to prove the efficacy of prayer? No, I don't. Because I already know it works. I've seen it work. I experienced that work. Right? In fact, I was a part of a study. It was one of the first double-blind clinical trial studies done. It took a menagerie of different healers, and it was a very rigorous study that was done to prove the efficacy of prayer, and it was statistically significant. So this work that you're doing is a continuation of that understanding. But I would ask you to consider that, see, the world of the West is predicated on doubt. Right? I need to see it to believe it. Right? That's the ground of scientific inquiry. I've got to see it to believe it. Right? We have to set up these very rigorous hypotheses and protocols, right, scientifically to validate what we believe to be true. And we've got to prove it scientifically. Well, I'm going to think about a different kind of science, an indigenous science. A science that isn't predicated on doubt, but on faith. So if you believe it, you can see it. Yeah? If you believe it, you can see it. Yeah? So my first medicine teacher is a shapeshifter. Yeah? And I want to thank you, Bill, for inviting me back here. It's been many, many years. I've actually presented to this group before. And what I presented on was shapeshifting. And there were a lot of doubters in the crowd. Yeah? Because it goes against what we understand reality to be. However, if you do not believe that shapeshifting is possible, chances are you will never encounter a shapeshifter in your life. But if you understand the possibility of shapeshifting, chances are the universe will present you with an opportunity to confirm what you perceive and believe. I know that was my case. Because I believed it and experienced it as a boy. And later on, here was a mentor who could shapeshift at will for medicinal purposes. It wasn't a sideshow. It was a medicine. Right? To allow the powers of the animal world to infuse into him for the benefit of doctoring other people. Yeah.
Will you elaborate?
Can I elaborate? Perhaps a little bit later. So, if we distill down our essence, fundamentally the question is, why are we here? Why are we here? I believe there are 4 reasons that I have, through my ceremonies and meditations and prayers, have arrived at. 1, first, is to wake up. To stop the slumber. To stop the automatic pilot. Yeah. To awaken to your original instructions, actually. Yeah. Which is the second. Right? So first we have to wake up, which is to stop the domestication. Because inside of you is an intrinsic wildness that's been suppressed through our society, through our conditioning. The second is to remember your original instructions. Each and every one of you has a gift that only you can fulfill on this human trajectory you're on, with all of your relations. And your mission and your purpose is to live that. Because if you don't remember what you're here to do for all of us, we all suffer. And the ground of a lot of the suffering in this world is because we are forgetting what we're here to do. And if you have elders and you have relations, because I believe actually nuclear families create nuclear explosions, okay? So for me, we talk about tribe. We talk about extended families, right? As I said, I have adoptions, right? I came from a nuclear family, but I have adopted relations, sisters, mothers, fathers, brothers. So I know I'm not alone and not insular. Yeah? And so we want to remember what we're here to do. Because if you don't remember what you're here to do, then we all suffer. And that's the world that we're in right now. What's the third? Third, in that DNA is an experience of unconditional love. How many parents do I have in this room right here tonight? Do you love your children unconditionally? Mostly it's a majority, right? There are times you may not, right? But of course, we know that you do, right? So inside the DNA of that child, in every cell of that being, is an experience of unconditional love. which is also domesticated out of us. We forget about unconditional love. Now, perhaps, maybe you are an orphan. Perhaps you didn't know your biological parents, or your parents were not so unconditionally loving, which also happens. You still have unconditional love as a part of your experience because the earth loves you unconditionally. And the source loves you unconditionally. So we have that experience which can then be translated and transmitted to others when we have the courage to let go of our fear that's been infused inside of us since the day we're born. Yeah? The fourth is to experience the interconnectivity of all of creation. To understand, as I said earlier, that you are a part of this beautiful matrix and web woven by Grandmother Spire that connects us all together. Right? Which science can also, to the quantum level, help us to understand. Which Indigenous people have espoused for thousands of years, for millennia. Yeah. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So, to wake up, to curtail domestication, which involves that fear, that prevents us from loving, from living from the heart, taking the risk of loving and living completely and passionately. To remember what you're here to do, which does not serve you. Okay? This isn't self-service. That's the other thing. We've become so myopic and so self-absorbed. Your mission and purpose has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your service to all of us. And by living that service, you are taken care of. Because you can supplant fear with faith. Faith in providence. The providence of Source to provide everything you need. And the earth to give you everything that you require for your sustenance. Third is to love unconditionally. Even when maybe others don't love you back unconditionally. We see all the awakened ones of the world. They live that way. They love that way. And they die that way. With freedom. Because that's what it brings. Right? Now, I'm not talking about social freedom. I'm not talking about gender freedom. These for me are self-evident. All of the kinds of freedoms that we see, for me, are self-evident. The one that we really require, the freedom that I think supersedes all of them, is spiritual freedom, which is absence of concern for yourself. When you stop fearing about yourself because you've replaced it with faith, that's freedom. And that is within your birthright. Regardless of whether you have children or don't have children, whatever you do in your life, this freedom is possible moment to moment. Yeah. Make sense? And the fourth is to experience the interconnectivity of creation in a cellular level. Because when you really do, you will start treating people with love and kindness and respect, because you will see them as your relative. And if you do see everyone as your family, you will never harm them. Right? Do you purposefully, maliciously want to harm your biological family? No, of course not. So then let's extrapolate the definitions of family to include everyone and everything. Because by so doing, we will begin to dream a world that is different. A world that brings us together in inclusion. Now, does that mean that you don't have differences with people? Absolutely not. Right? But what it does, it gives us the maturity to be able to have dialogue and conversations which are the ground of peacemaking. Because I live by the medicine wheel. Medicine wheel for us is a way of life. Okay? It's not a concept. It's not a theory. It's a spiritual navigational tool. And the intensive this weekend, we will be doing that. You're going to be tracking your life trajectory on that wheel and learning tools to be able to be human and to balance and take care of yourselves. You'll learn about the wheel. Not about how it's written in books. You can throw those out, right? Because you have to learn your wheel for yourself. There is no universal wheel. You are the medicine wheel. Your heart is the four-chamber directional wheel that guides you through your life. And so getting in touch with your heart allows you to walk the compass of your journey. And it is an exploration that will take you from the moment that you take your first breath until the moment you take your last breath. There's so much to learn. Don't ever stop learning. Don't ever think you've got it figured out, because you are embedded in a mystery. And that mystery surrounds you and suffuses you. And we are magic, and you live in magic. And that can allow you to be inspired and passionate moment to moment, because the reality is, my friends, my relations, we don't have it tomorrow. I get up at 4 o'clock or so every morning and I pray, and I offer my prayers to the morning star. And I express gratitude every day for my life, because this is all I've been given, right? To be able to arrive here safely, to share with all of you. There's no guarantee that we have it tomorrow, which is why we express gratitude every day for every moment that we can be here to learn and to grow as a human being, to understand how to put the being back in human. Because that's all of our quest and all of our responsibility. Because we need to stop creating suffering for ourselves. Right? That means that you have the ruthless honesty to track your patterns, to track your wounds. Because every single one of you in this room has been wounded. The crucible of our family is a charnel ground. And if you have the courage and the awareness and the insight to go into that family wound, you'll find the gifts of your liberation. So, at the moment of creation, this is the way the spirits explained it to me. At the moment of creation, when sperm and ovum unite, spirit comes in. Boom. You become incarnated. You become embodied. And you grow within the womb of the mother, suffused and surrounded in the first medicine, the amnion of water, within the womb of the mother. And then you make a magical transition from being a water-breathing organism to an air-breathing organism. A magical elemental transformation. And then you are presented to the world prayerfully in celebration and ceremony. Not sterility. For us, birth is a ceremony. It's a rite of passage. So we want the family and the community to be there to welcome that soul from the spirit world through the gateway of the womb to this earth. Yeah. To say thank you for coming. Thank you for your original medicine. Thank you for blessing us with your life. I don't believe in original sin. I believe in original blessing. That bundle has come from the spirit world for the realization of a purpose that's required here on this earth. Yeah. And then those, at the moment of that creation and that incarnation, you're bequeathed 2 bundles. A blessing bundle and a burden bundle. And inside that blessing bundle are all the gifts, attributes, and talents of your families of origin, both maternal and paternal. But you're also bequeathed a burden bundle. Inside this burden bundle are all the fears, wounds, traumas of your families of origin on both sides. And as you begin to crawl and walk, these break open. And you get a chance to see all the beauty that's in your families, and you get a chance to see that which is the darkness that's in your families. And every single one of you in here has that burden bundle too. Because it all goes back to the beginning of our humanity. Okay? But, you know, the whole nature-nurture conflict seems completely irrelevant to me because it's both. Both DNA and environment. Because what's going to be most apparent in that burden bundle is what's going to be in your immediate environment. Addiction, abuse, whatever it is, right? That's what's going to be the grist for the mill. Yeah? And so you make a covenant, a commitment to say enough is enough. I'm not carrying the legacy of this any further. And then we begin the hard work of healing. And so you draw upon that blessing bundle all the good medicine, as well as from your wisdom that you gleaned through the years and your life experience to extract one or two of the items from that burden bundle. So that when the time comes for you to pass it on to your children, or to perhaps other children through mentorship, that the burden bundle is smaller and the blessing bundle is bigger. That's the way that it's been explained to me by the spirits. Yeah. Make sense?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Very elegant, very simple, right? And that's what it is. It's not about complexifying things. It's about simplifying, right? Taking things down to their essence, right? And using this great mind that the Creator has bestowed, our intrinsic intelligence, which is no more intelligent than any other animal on this planet. Okay? What's really amazing to me is that a lot of the mammalian species learn our language. Dolphins, gorillas, bonobos. But do we really know, or can we speak their language? No. Again, that human hubris I'm talking about, right? So, all beings have their language, whether we can understand it or not. But the beauty is that there's beings, there's people, like medicine people, right? And to me, the word shaman, right, is an anthropological term that is misplaced. Okay? The people, the shamanic people come from the Siberian tundra, okay, from the steppe. That's their word to describe their medicine people. Okay? We need to stop using that word to describe other medicine ways. It's not respectful, right? But these shamans from Siberia or medicine people throughout the world never forgot the language of nature, never forgot the language of the animals, right? Their spirit languages. And we can all connect that way when we get this out of the way, right? There's times that this can take a vacation, people, right? Because in the silence of the heart, you can listen to the song of the ancestors. Because they're singing all the time. But we often forsake them. We forget about them. We don't listen to them. But they're there, always, talking to us. The ancestors are showing you signs constantly about being present with you, right? Helping you, guiding you on this path, right? And prayerfully, you have relations who are helping you with the rites of passage to notice and mark these thresholds through which we pass, which is thousands upon thousands of years old. Yeah. That, for me, is the gift of indigenous wisdom and medicine, that indigenous science that I'm talking about. Right? They've been around for thousands of years. There's a science, there's a strategy, there's an understanding. Right? The ceremonies that we conduct are very rigorous in their protocols. Right? They're not loose. Right? Right? This is a medicine way. Right? And as a medicine way, we all know, how long does it take to become a physician? About 10 years, right? You got 4 years of medical school, and you got rotations, residencies, right? And then you're a bona fide physician after 10 or so years of training, right? What makes you think that it's any different for indigenous medicine people? I travel all over the world, right? And the consensus is the same. an apprenticeship, a rigorous apprenticeship, is going to take you 10 years to become a bona fide medicine man or medicine woman, in whatever tradition you are part of. And so, tonight, I can't talk about native medicine. I can't talk us into remembering our beingness as humans. We have to experience it. We have to live it. Right? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a technology-enhanced prayer. Right? Primitive technology-enhanced prayer. So that all of you can experience the being of our humanity. To come back to what's important. To pray for our relations who are suffering. To pray for ourselves. To plant seeds of intention which then we can nurture and grow. Are you with me? Would you like to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that what I'm getting from the spirits is that we're just going to turn off the media because we're not going to, this is a moment that we're all in together. And I'm going to be singing songs and prayers. And so, this is kind of the body of the transmission that I want to share now. And afterward, if we still have more time, we can turn it back on. But at this point, I think we're going to set up my altar, right? And we're going to pray. Right? This is the altar it's not my altar, it's the altar I serve. And there's spirits that are connecting to it. Right? So with that, I ask you to go ahead and turn off the